This podcast is recorded on stolen and unceded Aboriginal land.
We acknowledge the First Nations and elders of this country and join their calls for justice. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
Has anyone studied why far-left women get that short, straight fringe haircut that looks like it was done with kitchen scissors?
I'm not familiar with this haircut. I've never seen one myself. What does he mean?
Well, he's just asking questions, I reckon. And I think he's in the best position to do so. His name is Caleb Bond. He looks great. He's sort of out.
He looks
how
great.
He looks really good.
Can't understand why no one else is making themselves look good like he is. I understand. I'd never considered trying to make myself look better.
Come on, bro. I don't like being mean about people's physical appearances unless they're pieces of shit. But like, come on, Caleb. You have to know what was coming when you posted
He
this.
started it. He started it.
He did start it.
Like, I mean, yeah, the leftist woman, I mean, without taking kind of the magic and the fun out of how hilarious this take is, it's like, yes, different social groups tend to exhibit, you know, they kind of have particular styles and physical manifestations that are common.
Triggered. Someone's getting pretty defensive.
We do get a lot of comments.
Look out.
That's one of the most common hater comments on our social media videos is like, why does she have the fringe? Of course she has that haircut. Fuck you.
I think you look lovely, Emerald.
I'll defend my bob to the death.
You look great.
Thanks. Look, it's a little bit more grey now, and I do find that as the fringe gets longer, I tend to relax a little bit, you know? I'm like, is it so bad to just want a simple life, baking bread at 4 a.m. for my husband, you know, raising our 19 children to preserve the white race? Is that so wrong?
You've gone full trad wife.
Yeah.
Did you feel personally attacked when you saw this particular post?
It felt targeted. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is Caleb does he watch our YouTube videos?
I hope he does, and he sees two absolute hotties killing it on the far left. He did a follow-up tweet, people losing their minds in the replies telling me how ugly I am, as if I don't know I wasn't born in oil painting. But I try to do something to improve upon it, not make it worse.
I wasn't born in oil painting. That's a nice way to... But also, what is he doing?
Well, as someone replied, it's not working.
Yeah, whatever he's doing, stop. My advice is just stop.
Do the opposite, Caleb. Whatever you're working on.
Right. Hey, try out a bob.
And then he quote tweeted the Babylon Bee, an article saying, women with micro bangs wondering how everyone knows she hates her father. And a photo of a woman in question.
Well, that's interesting because wasn't I talking shit on my dad on the podcast last week?
Yeah, that's true. I guess it's true. It's funny and true.
I don't hate him. I just would like to hear from him a little more.
Okay, well, this is everyone. This is the funny opening chat to the show. We can't get into these issues right
Sorry. Now. I know I keep doing this.
But Caleb,
this is my other podcast.
He quote tweets that and he says, ahem, as if to say, case closed. The dog shit right-wing satirical website that Elon Musk loves and thinks is so funny, the Babylon Bee, wrote an article that completely backs up my point. Therefore, I was correct. And anybody who disagreed with me, a big old ugly dum-dum.
Yeah. Can you believe that the people on my side agree with my terrible take about the people who are on the opposite side to me?
Michael, the Griffin's favourite reply to all this was someone saying, can you tell me why I can't tell you and Bruce Lehrman apart? This is a common theme, is that people saying you look like Bruce Lehrman, and then also people point out there's a little bit of a J.D. Vance look, and this is kind of
it's a type.
The type. But
yeah,
Will Menaker from Chabot Trap House has also regularly made lots of jokes about the fact that, unfortunately, he does resemble J.D. Vance.
Does he look like one of those?
Very much so, yes. And he could not be
just a look.
More different to Caleb Bond.
Just a type of guy.
Yeah, in that he's funny, interesting, smart, has a correct analysis of the state of the world, and isn't a voice for the forces of evil and capital in this world. So there are some differences.
Yeah, people say I look like Melania Trump, but like I don't. We're totally different. So it's kind of like that.
The bridge is literally something that brings people together, people from the north and south sides of Sydney, and it is being used for division in this utterly Orwellian named March for Humanity. That's what they're calling it, a March for Humanity, which suggests to me the implication is if you don't support them, well, then you're against humanity. Maybe you're not even human yourself. And we all know how that works when it comes to these sorts of anti-Semitic demonstrations.
We're stuck with the hosts of Chapo Shithouse podcast.
Serious danger to Australia.
Hello, everyone. It's Serious Danger, a podcast about green politics in Australia, featuring eye candy, myself, Tom Ballard, and Emerald Moon. If Emerald Moon gets a haircut from this point, that's not because of Caleb Bond dragging her, okay? Can we make that clear?
Yeah. I'm like, do I need to cancel my fucking haircut appointment? Because then it'll be like Caleb Bond wins.
If you get a haircut, the terrorists win. This is not an official Greens Party podcast. It is produced by The Griff. I am in Naarm on Wurundjeri and Bunurong country. And Emerald joins us once again from Meanjin, I assume?
Yep, I'm in Meanjin, Yagara, and Turrbal country.
Sick as. This week on the show, we are going to be reviewing the truly unhinged reactions to last weekend's March for Humanity on the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Truly. If you thought people were losing their minds about fringes.
We love a discourse moment, don't we? And believe me, there's discourse to be had.
I love to discourse. We're also going to check in on whatever the hell is happening in Lutruwita, Tasmania. It's an absolute shit show down there. And I'm kind of obsessed with it. I love reading about it, learning, and wondering where the Apple Isle is going to go next. So,
I see we have one new Patreon subscriber. Not angry, just disappointed. But thank you for keeping us going, for continuing the show. No, truly. We have lots of people who are listening who subscribe on the Patreon. That's how we pay Mike and run the show. It's $3 a month. If you don't know, now you know. You get access to bonus content, extra episode every couple of weeks, and Popping Mad has signed up. That's the name that they've entered into the system. That's one of the benefits. You can enter whatever name you like, and we're going to read it out on the podcast. So if you're not already a patron, please consider it. But also, if you just can't afford to or don't want to subscribe to something else at the moment, that's okay. Maybe recommend it to someone, maybe share a clip. There are lots of ways you can support it, but we very much appreciate our patrons. And I see we have reached a milestone. We have over 1,100 patrons. Okay, I should stop complaining. That's wild.
That's really good. That's great. Thank you very much for supporting the show. Cool. All those patrons would have received the bonus episode this week that came out, the latest Patreon episode, another installment in our Inside the Green series. We're up to chapter 10. We are getting close. Chapter 10 of Inside the Greens is Milne Rebuilds. Looking at Christine Milne.
Milne Rebuilds.
Milne Rebuilds. Yes, taking over the party and the wake of the 2013 election. Some very spicy stuff about leadership tensions, about the ruptures within the party and the dark days of the 2013 result. Juicy stuff for Greens nerds and well worth your time.
Also, the first kind of intersection of our lives, Tom. It's where, in some small way, little Emerald and little Tom kind of meet.
Oh, that's true, actually.
I think that was a bit of a beautiful moment.
Beautiful.
But yes, I recommend go listen to that. We're nearing the end of Inside the Greens. So, if you have been saving up the episodes, maybe start listening now. Who knows?
Do it.
So the world is rising up against the war criminals of the Israeli regime. And this really was a positive sight for me. You have in Sydney, Australia, at least 90,000 people came out in the middle of a rainstorm to protest against the genocide and for the Palestinians. So let's take a look at this here.
Stop starving Gaza! Stop starving Gaza!
Alrighty, discourse winner this week. It's got to be the massive protest for Palestine, the March for Humanity across the Sydney Harbour Bridge last weekend. How big was it? Was it dangerous and extreme? Or was it another degree in the kind of turning point of I'm like, what is this? It's like when it's a turning point, but by various degrees, it's kind of a wheel of public opinion on Palestine and Israel. I don't know.
It's a turning point wheel.
Haven't come up with a good term.
Yeah,
that's what I wrote in the show notes. I'm not quite settled on it. But yeah, and what does it mean for future protests? I think there's a lot to go through here.
Well, I think barely anyone turned out to the protest and it should be dismissed and doesn't mean anything. Yeah. But it also represents the end of Western civilization. Yes, that's my position.
That's right. Yeah. And that's the correct position to have, of course.
Thank you.
So, as we'll get to, the March for Humanity, this is the protest organised by a Palestine Action Group that happened in Sydney last weekend. Of course, it already had a bit of media attention before it occurred, some free promo effectively, because the New South Wales Police had applied unsuccessfully, spoiler alert, to the Supreme Court for an injunction to, well, they'd applied for it to not be protected as a protest action under New South Wales laws. They were saying that the police were saying that closing the bridge would cause major disruption. It would disrupt emergency services. It's not about politics, they said. It's about public safety. No.
Yeah.
It's just public safety.
Mhm.
We can't allow it.
Mhm.
The mayor, Clover Moore, was saying, look, support the protest. That's good, but it should happen somewhere else.
Oh, God.
Premier Chris Minns was saying, came out pretty strongly against it, said his government cannot support a protest of this scale and nature taking part on the bridge. The Greens, however, of course, always on the right side of things. They were urging the government not to stop the protest. They wrote a letter saying, quote, "This is the defining humanitarian issue of our time, and leaders across New South Wales will be remembered for their actions in this moment." Many of them then joined the march when ultimately the court said, nah, it's going to happen. The Greens were then featured. I love this little detail as well. So this massive march happens, right? And it's so big and such a discourse moment that we have this like celebrity spotting kind of angle. There was this Sydney Morning Herald article that was like, who was spotted marching alongside Julian Assange at the bridge, and it's just a list of of names. It's like the who's who of humanity. Did you see this article?
I didn't see all this sort of celeb spotting. Who wore it best? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like everyone who's anyone is there. What were they wearing? So Julian Foster. Oh, wait, not Julian Foster. Sorry, Craig Foster, Julian Assange.
Nice.
And Moore? Is that Clover Moore who then went along after opposing it?
I guess
Surely
so.
not.
Yeah, maybe. I guess, yeah, once you lose the battle as to where it should take place, she still endorses the philosophy and the call of the march. So I wouldn't be surprised if she turns up. Yeah.
Yep. And then there's a few state Labor MPs who are there in defiance of Premier Chris Minns. They are all listed in the article, plus Labor's Ed Husic, who, as we've discussed, is generally a friend of Palestine asterisk, as much as a Labor MP can be, and Green Senator Maureen Faruqi. From the article, other high profilers in attendance included journalist Antoinette Lattouf, actor Maine Wyatt.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know this actor. I don't know actors. What are they in?
Maine Wyatt's great. He's great. Aboriginal dude. Wrote a great play called City of Gold. You would have seen him in lots of stuff.
Okay.
He's great.
Yep. Model Louisa Dunn and Assange's movie maker brother Gabriel Shipton. Walking with Greens member for Newtown Jenny Leong was journalist Tan Safi. Former Labor Premier and ex-Minister for Foreign Affairs Bob Carr was also in attendance, as was, real celebrity, former Greens candidate for Grayndler Hannah Thomas.
Very, very good stuff. Also, John, did you see that John Ruddock went, the Libertarian Party guy? This made the people on Sky News lose their mind. That got quite a bit of attention, of course, because, yes, he's obviously, on so many issues, wildly wrong and a true free market fundamentalist, insane man. But, to his credit, pursues the libertarian position that, foreign intervention is bad and the war is bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he said a bunch of stuff. He was like being interviewed. He's like, river to the sea, I don't agree with that. But what we're saying is really bad. And so,
sure.
So that was an interesting
this is the thing. This is the problem with protests like this. And if you want to go along, particularly as a public figure, that they reach a certain point where you might be marching alongside people who believe or profess things that you don't necessarily agree in, and you are then guilty of committing the standing in front of ill-advised sign at a protest offence.
Yes.
And it will be reported in the media, and you will get the inevitable op-ed or whatever. Someone will have the take comparing you to the moment with Tony Abbott standing in front of the Bob Brown's bitch and Julia ditch the witch signs, referring to Julia Gillard. That's how Australian politics works. That's just a given. And that is, of course, what happened. Latika Burke has this take for the Nightly, where she points out that one protester who stood closely behind prominent left-wing and government figures, leading the march, held up an image of the Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. I don't know how to pronounce
Khamenei.
Khamenei? Thank
If
you.
you like.
Although, there's this there's this picture held up of the Ayatollah behind Bob Carr. He posted a photo where that picture is visible, then says he didn't notice it and said, quote, "I think there is a fair chance it was a provocateur." Provocateur or not, it's like, look, this is the point, is that this is an issue that now has such, like, so many people are like, maybe we should stop bombing and starving children, that all of those people that agree on that probably aren't going to agree on everything in the way that it should be expressed.
No, and the right never has this problem because the right doesn't organize mass protests, okay? So when you have mass protests and, hundreds of thousands of people hitting the streets in the name of a cause, yes, there are going to be people from all over the political spectrum doing lots of different things. And of course, the media loves to pick the most provocative elements of that and run with it. They never put it into context, of course. The fact that there were no arrests at this thing is fucking amazing. Like, that's really extraordinary and a true indication of exactly how peaceful this was and how broad and mainstream the support was. And people have said, yes, I don't know, for a picture of the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, there was, 1,000 prams and elderly people and priests and just ordinary people who see what's happening, recognize it as a genocide and say that it wants to stop and demand that our government should be doing everything that it can to try and stop that, which it just simply hasn't been doing. Now, I do wonder, on reflection, and I can't even remember how much outrage I invested in the Bob Brown's bitch signs at the time. On reflection, was that important? Like, should we have spent as much time on that? And should we just sort of say, protests are messy, free speech is messy. When you get a whole bunch of people around a political issue gathered together, people are going to say and do lots of a range of things. You can talk about them, I suppose, put them into context and in perspective, and that's important. And that's what really drives you crazy about these kind of articles from Letitia Burke. I'm like, okay, you didn't like a sign. There's a genocide happening. So for whatever outrage you have for a sign or the Australian flag being burnt, times that by about 1 million, and then you'll get to the appropriate response to what Israel is doing in its war on Palestinian people.
I mean, I think the problem is when people go, oh, we might have supported you had you not had that provocative sign in the background. That's really doing you a disservice. Whereas in the case of, like, that's bullshit. But, with the Tony Abbott, Bob Brown's bitch, Jalaya stuff, it's like, he is a misogynist. And I think the protest is shit anyway. I don't agree with it anyway. So I think it's consistent. But yeah, it is true. It's like that hyper focus on like, we caught you with this inappropriate sign. And Max Chandler Mather lost his seat because he had a picture. There was a picture of Albanese as a Nazi at the CFMEU rally where he spoke. And it's like, get a fucking grip.
And also the double standards. Again, if there was a pro-Israel protest and people were holding up signs of Benjamin Netanyahu, there would be nowhere near this same response, right? Because that's a completely different kettle of fish. This is the guy overseeing a genocide. So, okay, you can make your critiques of the Ayatollah, go for it. But if you want to be consistent and maintain the moral high ground, you also need to apply that to the dude that is, overseeing a genocide that has an arrest warrant out with it for the ICC that is, undeniably, in my view, a war criminal. So somehow I don't think Letitia would write that article.
Somehow I don't. Of course, the biggest question, I mean, you referred to hundreds of thousands of people, I think, Tom, but how many people were there? This is such a big part of the discourse. I'm curious. I do this, how sometimes when you're like at a protest or even just at an event or like out somewhere and you're like, how many people do you think are here?
Yeah. Do
you have good crowd estimation skills? Because I think mine are shit. I cannot.
No, mine are terrible. It's just a little insight into the fucking competitive nature of like treating it like a sport and
I
know. How many numbers can we pull as a comedian? Like how many tickets have you sold? What are your numbers like tonight? But no, I'm terrible at estimating this. And I don't know. You see like the image of the climate school strikes in Melbourne. Or the Black Lives Matter rallies in Melbourne that we had during the pandemic. You see the aerial shots and you think, well, I don't know how many people it is, but it's a fuckload and it's
big.
completely filling the major streets of the city. And the images of the bridge were just extraordinary. It's a huge outpouring of public sentiment in the rain too.
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of one of those things where it's hard to know how much time and energy to invest in what is the correct number, because part of you is like, well, clearly it's fucking big and that's all that matters. But then also when the number is used to kind of by so many people to determine like how much of an historic moment this is, or like how important this is for the Australian populace, then, I mean, it does matter. The police had initially said they think it was around 90,000 people. I think then the Premier was like about 100,000. The organisers, though, were saying it's around 300,000 people. And that saying basically that, yeah, the government was trying to downplay how much support there was. Some mathematics later from people who are apparently experts in this sort of thing, where they look at the area that is covered by the protest, how many people are on the road, how big is the road, how long is it? And they say that there's about three or four people per square meter. That gets them to about like between 225,000 and ding, 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 300,000 people. So yes, they were correct. The National Museum of Australia, and I guess, yeah, why this is, it does make it significant. They say that makes it the largest political demonstration ever held in Australia. So it's comparable.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah.
That's
So it is comparable to the protests against invasion of Iraq in 2003.
Right. Which the figure always cited there, I know it didn't get to this in America, but in Australia rather, but in London was 1 million people, I think, on the streets was the biggest estimate, which was certainly the biggest recorded protest there. Yeah.
That's right. I mean, keeping in mind that, it's like there might be more people when you add up separate protests in cities around the country, but that would be the biggest single protest, I imagine, is the point.
I thought, like, wasn't Minns in a bit of a weird position where before the protest happened, when he wanted to not have the protest, it feels like they wanted to overestimate the numbers as much as possible. And so it's going to be so many people. And then it happens, it goes, not that many, actually, don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's right. I meant to go and look at the proper, like, to confirm this, because I kind of got mixed information on how many people the notice of intention, or like the notice that the organisers had lodged, estimated, whether that was more like 10,000 or 50,000, but it was like in the media it was being reported as being estimated to potentially attract up to 50,000 people. So obviously it exceeded expectations, which, as a protest organizer, like, that's great. But like you were kind of alluding to, this caused a problem for people who don't like the protest or don't like the message, because protest movements like this, they have to walk a line, right, where these protests have to be presented as an extreme minority, not representing the views of the broader Australian public, but also...
Well, to be fair, most Australians weren't at the protest. That's so
weren't
at this
true.
protest.
There's not a majority of Australians at the protest, so still an extreme minority, but big enough to be dangerous mob.
Yes.
I mean, it reminds me of, it's like we talk about, it's the catch-22 with how people talk about the Greens, that they're both, quote, a serious danger to Australia. They're massive and terrifying, but also ineffective, minor, like pathetic. Yeah. And you can see like the reactions walking this line. So like the chief executive of the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, who was Zionists, were saying, quote, these people, being Palestine Action Group, who organised the rally, and they were saying that they were extreme, have now held yesterday's rally and brought maybe tens of thousands of unwitting people with them, tens of thousands, who think they're there for a cause of peace when truly they're not. They're being manipulated. In the same article, they're like, these people don't, like, there's not that many people that they're bringing along with them, but also they're tricking heaps of people to joining their radical extreme agenda.
Yes. Should we be worried about this or not? I can't tell. Is it either not matter and it's stupid and they'll be exposed by the truth, or is it a serious threat? And the hundreds of thousands of people, of ordinary Australians, are having the wool being pulled over their eyes. Which one is it, Alex?
Hard to say. Meanwhile, the police then spend a lot of time after the protests basically patting themselves on the back for averting disaster. They protected everyone.
Boys in blue.
Thank you for your service. At a press conference after the protest, immediately the acting assistant commissioner is saying it was the, quote, like the most perilous situation that he had ever been in 35 years of policing, and he was worried that the risk of the crowd crush risk meant that someone would potentially die. I like this. Okay, so what happens is, I think within like half an hour of the march starting, police decide to send out a mass text, a geo-targeted text to everyone there, around 3 p.m. saying, the protest, you need to stop where you are, await further instructions. We're worried about there being too many people on the bridge and particularly trying to exit at the northern end of the bridge, and there being a risk of crowd crush there as people gather. And so people are waiting on the bridge apparently for like up to an hour. This is what protesters are saying. And these texts keep coming in from police. They're like, okay, we're talking to the organizers. Now we're saying you're going to need to turn around, but don't do it straight away. Just hold there and wait so that there's not confusion. But there obviously is massive confusion. People trying to turn in opposite directions. That's making it even more dangerous. I'm like, look, I think to be fair and objective, there probably was a real risk of crowd crush. Like that's a real thing. People fucking die. We know that happens and it could have happened. But at the same time, the way that it's presented as like, and the cops are so brilliant and smart that they managed to prevent it from happening, and we're so grateful for them. Other than, why the fuck didn't the cops already have a plan in place for the protest that was like, you were given notice of that it would be marching this direction and exiting at the northern side? Like that is your job, to plan for that.
Yes. Yes. If you're there to protect our wonderful rights, our freedom of speech and protest, then yeah, this is your job. I mean, I don't know heaps about it. I would say that a crowd crush risk, you see at music festivals, you see it like violent protests, you see it like spontaneous protests. I have much less concern about a crowd crush risk at a gentle walk over a bridge. You know what I mean? And no one's like rushing to get anywhere. No one's trying to reach a certain location and demand that people come out or anything like that. I don't know.
Sure. Like I think the risk is lower, but I mean, I'm not an expert, but the way I understand it is like it can kind of come out of nowhere where people just people might have just been like hanging around at the end of the bridge, and they don't know that there are so many people behind them trying to continue moving. And because there's so many people, there's that disconnection between the start and the end of the march. And then I think the point is that people get panicked because they go, why aren't we fucking moving? I'm going to get trapped here. I need to get out. I'm going to then panic and start pushing. And that's, yeah.
I mean, my experience of being in a big crowd like that is like an Invasion Day rally in Melbourne where they walk right down the street. So I accept that being on the bridge is a different scenario in which you can't escape, either side.
Yeah. You can't. Exactly.
Anyway, the fact that no one was arrested and none of that happened whatsoever, sure, I guess the cops can take that as a win if they like, but I think it's probably also an indication that most people there were for the right reasons. They weren't in a rush anywhere. They just wanted to express their political view on this crisis, and we're probably pretty conscious of the people around them.
Yeah, I will say also, like, it makes me think, were you actually just not, instead of spending time planning for this protest that was going ahead, you were just hoping the courts would say no? And then you came unprepared and like were sending these chaotic messages that apparently legal observers said that they overheard a police officer at the protest telling a protester, that the messages were a scam because they didn't know what was going on. Yeah, just insane.
And what you got here? A police horse pushed over an elderly man with a walking stick?
Yeah, like I don't know. I haven't seen that reported elsewhere, but apparently that Legal Observers New South Wales said that also happened. The police horse, which I mean, police horses at protests.
Why are we getting little horses involved?
Why the horses? Yeah.
And also, again, you want to talk about the police, making a protest a more violent situation and more risky.
More dangerous.
Talk to fucking Hannah Thomas, thanks, who was at this march like a legend. Still with a patch over her eye, potentially may have lost sight of the rest of her life. She'll tell you a thing or two about just how safe police make things, particularly when it comes to protests around the rights of Palestinians.
Yes. So anyway, it is, it seems settled among all of those who listen to experts that around potentially up to 300,000 people turned out on a rainy day, on a weekend, to march for Palestine, to show their support for humanity, for sanctioning Israel. But that doesn't make it right, according to Sharry Markson on Sky News, who said, and I quote,
"The size of the crowd does not make them right. And if we look back in history, the Nuremberg rallies in Nazi Germany were attended by some 700,000 people."
It's kind of like that, right? It's kind of the same. This is the same thing.
It's exactly the same. And it's a really good point, Sherry. And I condemn the protest now.
Make you think. Yeah.
Because I guess by not doing that, I'm basically saying that Nazis are good.
It's like, yeah, correct. The size of the crowd doesn't make them right. You know what makes them right? The fact that they're right. Like the facts of the thing that they're protesting, the fact that Israel is committing war crimes and starving Palestinians. That's what makes them right. It's not just the size of it. The size of it is because they're right.
Yeah, there is kind of some relationship. Also, it's just like that argument is just against anything, as if you could never cite the amount of numbers or support for something.
No, that's right.
Like, it just never stands up to an argument because lots of people supported Hitler. Therefore, anyone supporting anything is completely void.
That's right.
What a dumb idiot. Once again, Sherry, if you are watching, you're a very stupid person.
Very stupid. And look, stupid takes abound. And like unhinged takes abound.
Truly,
the West Australian ran this front page. The headline was big words, bloody chaos, an image of a Muslim woman holding a doll smeared in blood.
Fake blood. Fake blood.
Sorry, fake blood, of course. But like the imagery, like what are they trying to achieve here? Instead of like, I mean, it's a March for Humanity where 300,000 people turn out. And the irony of it being like, obviously why, I don't know. It's like you've clearly chosen this image to be like, look how shocking the protesters are. And it's like, what are they protesting?
Yeah. No, we don't want to talk about that. We want to zero in on what on who they are, anything they did, holding up a sign, burning an Australian flag.
Yep.
Should we make that illegal? I mean, I don't know if you saw, Neil Mitchell again, who's on X now. That's all he does is just tweet out his horrific right-wing takes for free now. And it's like, so now the conversation is, should we make it illegal to burn the Australian flag? That's the important conversation that we need to have as a country right now.
Well, that was in Melbourne where, like, you know, while the Sydney protest was happening, Melbourne, they also tried to march across the bridge. Riot police blocked it. They got blocked and turned around. Also at that protest, some like a small group of people burned an Australian flag. I mean, like, my thoughts on burning the flag, it's like, okay, like, it's a little bit attention seeky to me, but go off, whatever, I don't care. The point is, and Neil Mitchell asked Nasser Mashni from Australian Palestine Advocacy Network, friend of the show, will he condemn this? And Nasser's like, it's a flag, it's a piece of silk. I don't think anybody should be doing it, but I'm not condemning anybody. If I'm going to be condemning anybody, it's the inaction of our government and the continued genocide happening in Palestine.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Your priorities are all out of whack, Nasser. Come on, man. Focus on the real big issues.
Yeah. What is the
It's
real
funny.
issue?
I was talking to my personal trainer this week.
Oh, okay. Okay, glow up. Okay, Fitzbo.
This buddy doesn't just happen. Anyway, Luke is a very lovely man, and he's sort of my insight into sort of normie people. Like he's just a normal dude.
I like to watch people at the gym and be like, what are you thinking? Who are you voting for?
Hello, member of the working class. Let me discuss things. No, Luke's a nice guy who, vaguely follows the news, and we get chatting about stuff. Anyway, he was sort of talking about these protests. He's like, I don't care about someone burning the flag, but like he makes the point that yes, it's not gonna win heaps of people to your cause. It provides a distraction, and you sort of say, I'm not here to lecture people who turned out, in solidarity for Palestine, but I don't think it's unreasonable to expect those people to have some awareness of political strategy because you're obviously a politically engaged person. You want this protest to have as much impact as possible. I think it's not reasonable to make an expectation. You say, well, what do you think is going to happen if you do that? Yes, fair enough. These marches are getting tarred for the most innocuous reasons anyway, but do you want to give them more ammunition? I think that's a pretty reasonable question to ask.
Yeah, and I'm sure that like perhaps the argument is, yes, we thought about the strategy and we're thinking long term because our project is to highlight the atrocity, like the fact that Australia as a colonial, illegitimate state is that is inherently entwined with the colonial imperialist project of Israel. Like you can't separate the two, but it's like burning. I don't think you've achieved that by burning the flag. Sorry.
Nope.
Yeah. Anywho, Michaelia Cash, did you see her on Sky News?
I heard her. I wasn't watching Sky News. I just heard her in the distance.
Heard her voice. The way she enunciates this is delightful. Mike, you should cut it in.
This wasn't a protest. It was a political statement.
political statement.
Statement. Her Australian accent is like it ventures towards South Africa. That's how sort of bizarre it gets.
Yeah, it's really hammed up. But like, really well summed up, Michaelia. It was a political statement, which is in fact what a protest is.
These, again, right-wing people do not know what a protest is. They've never been to one. They've only spent their entire political lives hating them in every single circumstance.
This wasn't a protest. It was a political statement. It's so funny to me.
I want those non-political protests, please.
Just learned about what protests are. Also, just a moment of appreciation for the extra sauce that she puts on Hamas. She is delivering correctly. So like, and I wanted to, I mean, in the midst of all these terrible takes, I did want to take a moment just to be like, this is the point of the protest, is to, yes, make a political statement using the national icon of Australia. And it worked. It was recognised. I mean, it's still spurring your discourse. You obviously noticed it, but it was also reported globally, including, according to people in Gaza, giving them hope that, like, the world hasn't fucking forgotten about them and abandoned them, which would be easy to feel when no help is coming and you're being starved and bombed continually. I really liked that this was in an SBS article where Tamer Nahed, a web developer from northern Gaza, he wrote on social media about showing footage from the protests on the bridge to his parents. And he said, quote, "We watched together as people stood in the rain in this cold weather, chanting for us, for justice, for truth. And in my parents' eyes, I saw something that had been missing for a long time. I saw hope return, even if just a little." So, fuck you, Michaelia Cash,
You hear there's a lot of, people critiquing and sneering at people supporting Palestine. It's like, doesn't make a difference. I'm like, no, fuck you. Palestinian people are some of the most politically engaged peoples in the entire world, because they fucking have to be. The level of tertiary education in Palestine is really quite remarkable. It's a very, very educated society, and people are so fully educated and engaged because it's obviously destroying their lives and it dictates their lives in so many different ways. So they absolutely pay attention. They absolutely recognize this solidarity. Sure, it's a small thing, but fuck, it's something. And if anyone deserves that kind of solidarity right now, it's the people of Palestine.
Yeah. I did another reaction that gives me ick is Penny Wong on 7:30, who said, quote,
"That was an extraordinary march and I think it demonstrates what we all feel."
What do you feel, Penny?
What do you feel,
Because
Penny?
I'm pretty sure there are people in that march who are saying, hey, the government should stop supplying, we should stop weapons exports to Israel, which you claim doesn't exist because non-lethal parts.
Awful.
We had this conversation about like, we want you on board, but when you are a government minister who has like directly enabled the supply of weapons to Israel, I don't know.
Extraordinary march.
Returning, of course, to our mate Caleb Bond. Now, his take, another really remarkable one,
Incredible,
is that the government should be more like Joh Bjelke-Petersen, who declared a state of emergency in 1971 when the South African Springboks rugby team was visiting Queensland, and people were like, hey, apartheid is bad. We should protest this. And so Joh Bjelke-Petersen sanctioned one of the most like brutal and also radicalizing instances of state-sanctioned police violence, probably in Australian history. I mean, at least against white people as well as Aboriginal people. This like spawned the creation of 4ZZZ. Future Premier Peter Beattie was there. He was bashed by police. Insane to say this, but also the way that Caleb presents this, again, we should cut this in.
The last bloke who really did that in Australia was Sir Joh Bjelke-Petersen, who, when the Springboks came out, and I know there was trouble at the time, obviously with apartheid, but the Springboks came out and he said, regardless of what's going on in the country, they have a right to play in Australia. And demonstrators said, we are going to stop these games from going ahead. He called a state of emergency, which gave the state government special powers to control where they could and could not play. They took grounds and said, you're going to play here because it's where we can best control it. And the police were empowered to do whatever possible to stop the protests.
And what is this? Is he British? What's his accent? What's going on there? Does he have something in there? There was trouble at the time. It's also referring to apartheid as, quote, trouble at the time.
I know there was trouble at the time, obviously with apartheid.
There was trouble at the time with apartheid.
There was a bit of a to-do.
It's very true and true. Prue. It was a little bit of, well, because her husband was involved in the apartheid.
Prue, are we complicit in apartheid?
I don't know. Well,
I haven't heard this. I've heard people say, hey, Israel is an apartheid state. We all know apartheid was bad, like in South Africa. I haven't heard... We dealt with quashing anti-apartheid protests incorrectly back in the 70s, and we should apply those same kind of strategies.
We should do that again. Yeah. Basically, maybe this is Caleb Bond's way of being like, yeah, this is also apartheid, and so apartheid, and so logically, we should also do extreme police violence, which was also there was like corruption going on. Joh Bjelke-Petersen was doing deals to increase police pay at the same time in exchange for like their quote unquote loyalty in bashing the shit out of peaceful protesters in Queensland. Really, this has got to be up there in terms of takes.
He's still here. Bjelke-Petersen is still a massive hero to a whole bunch of people on the right. Like most people would assume, that guy that went down for corruption and was basically encroaching fascism in Queensland. We all think he sucks, right? And people on the right go, he had some great ideas and some great strategies. Bring him back.
Yeah. Really good stuff. Of course, clearly a lot of people trying to use this to push for more, crackdowns on protests, as if the Labor governments haven't done enough of that, particularly in New South Wales. I loved this hilariously very I'm not doing a contempt of court. I'm not criticising a judge decision, except I kind of am. Opinion piece in The Australian by Chris Merritt, who is from the Rule of Law Institute of Australia. Haven't researched. Don't want to know. The headline of the article is like, judge doesn't deserve criticism for decision to allow Sydney Harbour Bridge protest march. But that's effectively what the article does. Okay. He says, quote, what happened on the bridge is not the result of judicial activism or bias, because I would never say that. It is the result of a flawed permit system for street protests that smoothed the way for a great national icon to be used for propaganda purposes.
What?
It is also curious.
Hang on. Sorry. Was this article written when we projected the Israeli flag onto the sails of the Sydney Opera House?
Propaganda. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is also curious, he says, that there is no sign in Rigg's judgment that anybody bothered to tell the judge about legal changes in 2022 that protect major facilities. Jesus. So he's basically like, the poor judge. No one told them that Labor introduced this cooked, draconian anti-protest law that could have made this illegal. And then also he's like, and the problem is under New South Wales protest laws, the court decision was really just about whether the protesters would have the benefit of, political assembly protections or not. And what it should have been about was making it illegal to walk on the bridge. So that's a really great take and a really good sign of the kind of things that are probably being proposed to the New South Wales government right now as reforms that they could pursue. I note that Chris Minns was on the radio saying he, quote, wasn't ruling out legislation to stop regular protests on the bridge. So instead of looking at this and going, hey, wow, what a moment of people turning out to March for Humanity, it's like, how do we stop this?
How can we stop this? Yes.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some quote from him saying, if you really want to get someone in the Labor Party mad, you try and limit the right to protest or something. That's what really gets out of goat.
Which is such bullshit. They love limiting the right to protest. The Liberals tried to go one step further. They tried to bring on debate in New South Wales Parliament on a bill they'd apparently introduced in February that would force protest organisers to privately fund police for protests over a certain size.
Brilliant.
Thankfully, Parliament voted against that debate, effectively squashing the bill. But, does no part of you be like, that sounds a little bit dangerous for, democracy, that certain people who can afford it can just privately hire police protection?
If you want to protest, you need to succeed in the capitalist market, build lots of wealth, and then use that to fund your own private police force if you want to exercise your freedom of speech.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the end point of the liberal, small L here, commitment to civil liberties.
right? Like, you get civil liberties as long as you can pay for it, and the costs associated with expressing those should be placed on the individual, and it's not the responsibility of the state. Like, that is the end point of the failure of liberalism, right there.
And I mean, it's like, look, I mean, me personally, I would acknowledge at the moment that the police do already represent a particular section of society and their interests, and that is like the interests of capital as represented through the state. However, in theory, they're meant to protect all of us, and that's probably not a good principle to try to undermine. Now, look, so I think this has been a bit of a galvanizing moment for a lot of people. I think there will be more protests. Obviously, the protests for Palestine will continue. They've been happening pretty much every weekend. And there is now this national March for Palestine scheduled for Sunday, the 24th of August. The Sydney organisers said there are no plans for another march across the bridge at the moment, but I think other cities are looking at, really big protests on the 24th. The Brisbane Mianjin Justice for Palestine group just announced this week that they're going to do a protest over the Story Bridge, which is like our little equivalent. I felt like a little bit of a country hick when I was writing this down, which is just to point out that people recently tried to hold a protest over the Story Bridge because they've closed it to cyclists and pedestrians, and we just want to be able to like walk and cycle over the bridge. Anyway, that was blocked in court, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I think what is particularly concerning, and I don't know, I guess maybe I have some hope that the tide has turned so much and there is support for these protests that they will be peaceful, and you won't see a really violent or oppressive response from the state. But that hope is tempered by some cynicism and some worry.
Yeah, I mean, we should all take heart in the turnout for that, and full love and solidarity and thanks to all the people who did organise it, not the cops, but the people who actually are doing that, and all the people who've been turning out on the streets every single goddamn week. I mean, I just think, that collected with this polling that we had this week as well, showing, what Australian support for formal recognition of Palestinian statehood is at 45%, with only 23% against. Massive age difference there. Young people obviously support that more. The tide is turning. People's perceptions of Israel is turning. We are many and they are few. And yes, the crackdowns will continue, but with the kind of numbers that we're seeing, you'll get to a point where people will, in massive numbers, peacefully march almost no matter what the government says. And once you get to a certain size, there is a limit to how much they can actually do, particularly if those people turning out are regular people walking peacefully who are not seeking any trouble, but simply want to express their view about the most pressing moral foreign policy issue of our time.
Yeah.
The Tasmanian devil's liable to get you. He's a mean, vicious, nasty, no good, baggy-eyed, marble-headed ignoramus. He's a stupid,
Flattery will get you nowhere.
All right. In lighter news, the march is good news, but the cracks on protests are bad. Anyway, Lucha Weed Tasmania is going crazy. We've got to figure out what the fuck is going on down in the beautiful Apple Isle. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago after the election when I was co-hosting with Osman Faruqi. They've been counting votes ever since. Have you been following this much? Do you have a strong take on the state of Tassie democracy?
Oh, no, I haven't. And I have to say, I think part of me is just like, I don't want to look at this because it is so infuriating. It is another, as I was saying last week, like, it is crazy making.
It's a little...
What the fuck, Labor? They are so obstinate. I think I'm stubborn, but geez.
Yeah, these guys give you a run for the money. They've shut the bed. You'll be pleased to know. Very quickly recap, we had a Liberal Party minority government. They were supported by the independents on the crossbench. There was a budgetary crisis in Tasmania. Everyone's talking about the $1 billion stadium and Macquarie Point. The two majors support the stadium. Most people don't. They want the AFL team. They don't want the stadium because it's way too much money and it's ridiculous. There was an election due for another 16 months. Labor brings on a no-confidence motion in Liberal Premier Jeremy Rockcliffe. That motion is eventually supported by the Greens. That triggers an election, the fourth Tasmanian state election in 7 years.
They did that election. It's resulted in another hung parliament. Okay, both major parties now have exactly the same number of seats that they had before the election. So it's good stuff.
Almost like that's what the public wanted.
Seems that way.
Like, this is the result that the public have decided. And they were like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, pretty
Yeah,
sure.
bro. Well, there was some change. The Liberals increased their primary vote by 3%. Labor lost votes on this. They lost one seat and picked up another one, I believe. Oh no, maybe they kept them all. Maybe that happened to Liberals. But anyway, they received the worst result they've ever received in the state, but still managed to hang on to 10 seats. The Tasmanian Greens got a small bump to their primary vote, sitting at 14.4%, if you don't mind, and we kept all of our 5 seats.
Oh, it's so nice to see a bump to the primary vote, even if it's not an increase in seats. Well done, Tassie Greens.
We'll take it, and that's probably the highest primary at the state level. I think we'd have.
That's huge.
Maybe the ACT beats it, but yeah, still pretty good.
Look, it's huge for us.
So, since the last time we talked about it, they finished the counting, and this week the Tasmanian Electoral Commission officially declared all the elected MPs. Here are the stats. Libs have got 14 seats. Labor's got 10. Greens have got 5. The crossbench has got 5 members of it, 1 shooters, fishers and farmers, and 5 independents. Okay.
So 6? Not 5?
Yes, sorry, 6 independents. 6 on the crossbench that are to the Greens. 5 of them are independents. One of them is some shooters, fishers.
You
and
with
farmers.
us?
It's good stuff.
Thrilling stuff.
Point is, well, do you consider the Greens on the crossbench in this scenario? That's what keeps confusing me.
Yes, they are the crossbench, and it annoys me when media they stopped at some point reporting the Greens as part of the crossbench. Right. They are literally on the crossbench.
Yes, okay, we are on the crossbench.
Yeah.
Okay, well, including those 6 people plus the Greens, that's 11 seats. The crossbench
11
we've got more seats than the Labor Party does, so it's good stuff. Only one member of that crossbench has said that they support the stadium. That's David O'Byrne, the former Labor leader who went independent. And there you go. Those are the final results. So yeah, what can we learn? What can we learn from all this? Is there anything to be learned? What do we think about this?
I actually didn't clock the fact that the crossbench has the most seats. That's interesting.
Well,
and
the Libs have 14.
To,
yes, but the crossbench has more.
Oh, sorry, right. But still, way bigger crossbench than other parliaments that don't have proportional representation of sorts in the Hare-Clark system.
I'm loving, there's a few crazy people who are like, this is an indictment. The Hare-Clark system sucks. It doesn't deliver a stable majority government. I'm like, no. Those are 2 different goals.
No, that's different.
The point isn't to deliver a stable majority government. I'm sorry. The point is to reflect the will of the people. And this is what they've delivered, you pieces of shit. So fucking deal with it.
Yeah.
Interestingly, this is from Bernard Keating and Crikey. Tasmanian Labor hasn't won more than 10 seats since 2006. Now, of course, Parliament used to be smaller. It's been extended, so 10 seats in the smaller Parliament is bigger, obviously. But yes, ever since 2006, Tasmanian Labor has never had more than 10 seats in that Parliament. So again, you better get used to this, Tasmanian Labor. It feels like this could be a big part of your future, this kind of vibe.
They're like, I just need one more roll. Just give us one more crack. No. I'm going to hit it this time.
That was a practice. Best 2 out of 3.
Yeah. That doesn't count. Wait. Yeah.
I like this. The last MP to be elected was in the seat of Bass, a guy, an independent, Professor George Razay, a doctor at Launceston Hospital. He got over the line. He told the ABC, when I mentioned my interest in politics, I often get responses such as, are you mad? You're too nice to get into politics. Politics is no different than medicine. It's about getting the job done, helping, and representing my community with honour and dignity.
Oh, bless.
I think this guy might be too nice to get into politics.
Yeah, I'd probably say the same thing. I think it's possible though. Like, I think you won't, but you may not be very effective. But like, some people can retain that sweet naivete, as an independent particularly.
Politics is no different than medicine. Sometimes you've got to let people just die.
Sometimes people die.
Sometimes it's just their time. So you got a hung parliament there, and everyone's saying, all right, what's going to happen now? How are we going to get a minority government? Who's going to be the premier? And we got kind of an answer to that this week, at least for the time being. On Wednesday, Tasmanian Governor Barbara Baker accepted Jeremy Rockliff's request to remain in power with a minority government, and he and his cabinet are going to be sworn in next week. I believe Erica Betts is going to be the new treasurer of Tasmania.
Oh, good.
Big fans of his work.
Rockcliffe said he believes he will receive the confidence of the Parliament, though he hasn't secured supply and confidence agreements with any of the crossbenchers. Apparently said he thought it wasn't necessary to be recommissioned.
He's like, no, we're chill. Well, it's chill. Don't worry.
It's like, well, I guess it's not necessary if you lie to the governor and say, yeah, I'm going to get confident big time. And she'll be like, cool. But if you actually want that to be the case, you might want to do a little bit of work there, Jeremy.
I don't know.
Explaining her decision, Baker says, in a hung parliament where no one clearly holds the confidence of the majority of the House of Assembly, the incumbent has the right to remain in office in order to test the numbers in the House of Assembly and for Parliament to have the final say in who should be Premier.
Right.
Which is kind of like, I guess that's kind of fair enough.
That kind of makes sense. But then what happens when they test their numbers?
Well, it's going to be fine because Rockcliffe said, through sensible communication, everyone working together, pragmatism, working together on policies, working together in the best interest of Tasmanians, this is a government and a parliament that will last the full term. Yay.
Wow. They're going to work together in the interests of Tasmanians?
Within several hours, Tasmanian Labor leader Dean Winter gave a statement confirming plans to move a no-confidence motion against Rockcliffe's government when Parliament resumes on August 19th. Whether it's by us or an independent, there'll be a motion moved in Parliament of no confidence in the Liberals and confidence in a Labor government. Tasmanians can be assured that any motion we move will not result in another election. It will result in either a Liberal government or a Labor government. You dropped the word minority there, but yes, Liberal government or a Labor government.
How do they assure that? You actually, how can you assure that unless everyone has agreed?
It's fucking insane.
Which they haven't because you refused to speak to them.
Yes. My question to you is what's the strategy here? But I guess it kind of answers itself, really. He thinks that he can go back to go back to Parliament, move a no confidence motion, and gain the confidence and win a supportive confidence motion from the Parliament, from the independents on the crossbench, presumably everyone but the shooters, farmers, and fishers guy, maybe. And with doing no negotiating with the Greens, we'll get a government. We'll get the endorsement of a Labor minority government with 10 seats.
Because if the Greens don't support him, then they'll just run a fake smear campaign that the Greens chose the Liberals or chose to go back to another election.
Yes. I guess it's this game of like trying to snooker everybody, but he has also snookered himself,
It's chicken.
Of course.
It's a game of chicken, right?
Yes.
Like
he said he won't do deals with the Greens, but then he's also said there won't be another election. So if you get into that circumstance and Labor says we demand the support of the Greens, we will not give any concessions or have any deal or negotiation with them, and the Greens say we cannot support you in that circumstance because we have principles and rights and we represent part of the Tasmanian people and you should talk to us. Labor can't say, well, the Greens are sending us back to an election. I don't think that's going to wash. People are going to say, no, this is all you. You brought on the last election. You've got yourself into this position. You said there wouldn't be another election. You could avoid another election by negotiating with this group who increased their vote the last election, unlike your good selves. Like, how the fuck does he think he gets that over the line?
Yeah, I know. Like, if he would need the support of like all the mainstream, political media to kind of push that narrative. And look, they've pushed stupider narratives, but I don't know if they would even they would do this one. Like, particularly, like if they'd done it once, if it wasn't the second time, if they hadn't just done an election that everyone knew was prompted by Labor moving that no confidence motion, maybe. But I don't know. People aren't that stupid.
I mean, I think you're right with the media because even when you just lay out the basic facts of the situation, it just reads as a burn. Like this is for the ABC, right? Labor has said it will be stepping up negotiations with the crossbench because the Liberals haven't shown how they can reach the 18 seats they need to form government and in Tasmania. However, Labor says it will only work with the 6 crossbenchers, ruling out further discussions with the Greens as part of its process. This plan also leaves Labor short of 18 seats.
Correct. I liked, yes, you also put this quote from Rosalie Woodruff, the Greens leader, where it's just so simple. She says Mr. Winter needs to step up. If he wants to be Premier, he has to be able to count to 18.
Yes.
He's accused Jeremy Rockcliffe of not being able to get to 18. If he wants to get to 18, he has to talk to the Greens. He has to negotiate with us. That's just straight basic maths.
Straight basic maths, yo.
It is straight basic maths.
Dr. Woodruff suggested that for the Greens to offer that support to him, a conversation will be needed. We can't just give the support that will be enduring and stable for a 4-year parliament without having a conversation with Dean Winter about what that would look like. I mean, again, I think that's what Labor thinks can absolutely happen. They think they can just snooker the party into a position in which they say, yeah, we're not giving you anything. And if you don't give us the support, then we're going back to the polls, even though we promised that wasn't going to happen. So
I really hope the Greens hold their ground and don't blink on this, because they're in a good, like, Labor is in a stupid position that they put themselves, like, they have put themselves in that position. Don't let them weasel out of it.
That's it. I mean, part of me wants to see it happen, because remember there was a lot of this chat ahead of 2022, right? Like when there was talk about a minority government and where the Greens would sit in that, and you know, Labor was, I think, going into that election, I'm remembering a lot of people saying, nah, Labor shouldn't give a single inch, and if the Greens demand concessions in order for the support to join a minority government, Labor should refuse and put the cost of sending people back to the polls onto the Greens. Now, of course, we just haven't seen that actually happen, but it would be sort of fascinating to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
My gut says that the most people would say that the impetus, the responsibility is on the major party with the most number of seats who say they want power to compromise somewhat, have a discussion with the Greens and reach an agreement as they did in 2010.
Yeah.
I mean, I just hope the Tasmanian Greens don't have any influence, because they're evil and terrible. Here are just some of their horrific demands and their priorities as a party.
What?
They oppose the stadium that's going to cost $1 billion while, you know, essential services are in
They hate sport.
disarray in Tasmania. They hate sport. They hate fucking footy.
Wow.
They oppose cuts to essential services as they address the budget crisis, because they want people to like be able to eat and like get medicine and all this kind of stuff.
Irresponsible economic managers. Got it.
They want a strengthened integrity commission, which Labor says they also support. They want treaty with Tasmania's First Nations people, which Labor also says they support, apparently.
Okay.
They want greater renters' rights, and they want to regulate short stay accommodation. Airbnb is like, you know, fueling the housing crisis in Tasmania. They want to do something about that.
Attacking landlords, attacking housing providers. Yep.
You got it. And when it says like, acknowledging that the state is in fiscal trouble, how about raising some revenue for the budget by making salmon farming companies pay royalties for the use of Tasmanian waterways? Apparently, I guess they don't do that at the moment. Seems like a good idea. And increase mining royalties to bring Tasmania into line with other jurisdictions.
That's a good point. Yeah, like you don't really talk about salmon farming or the use of waterways as a type of natural resource extraction.
But it is. It totally
But I kind of get the logic, yeah.
Yeah, no, big time. So obviously all very evil. Now, and Labor won't talk about that, of course. They just want to say, oh, Greens are bad. I mean, I think Winter would cite the Greens' position on salmon farming as like, you know, that's the red line, and Tasmanian Labor and forestry as well. And like Labor can't, you know, just simply is diametrically opposed to those things. Now, you know, you and I can have an opinion about that. We think that Labor's got the wrong position in that respect. But a whole bunch of these independents that he's negotiating with are like elected on anti-salmon farming platforms. Okay. So you're prepared to talk to them, even though you've got clear ideological and policy position differences with them.
That's a good point.
But not the party that has 5 seats in their bank that have also expressed, that represent 14% of the voting Tasmanian public. Apparently you don't give a shit about them or the people who vote for them.
Yeah, like are there other things? Because it is generally, it's those things that they cite, right? Like they say the Greens want to trash salmon and and forestry, like timber harvesting. But like there's not other things that they cite that maybe the Greens want that these nice independents don't. But if those are the sticking points, that's what the independents also want. So maybe you need to look at yourselves, look at your own policies.
And I guess the stadium is the big thing. But also the problem that Dean Winters, the Tasmanian Labor, has is that there is not a huge amount of difference between them and the fucking Liberals, right? Like it's this kind of competence argument. That's why we bring on this no confidence vote. It's like, in a time when things are pretty bad for the Tasmanian people in a range of different ways, like where there is probably a lot of anger at the way the Liberals are managing the state, like they seem to have no capacity to capitalise that or present an alternative vision that's going to make a meaningful difference. on a whole bunch of those sort of social indicators, like make some actual change. They just want to be the government.
So weak sauce. Like, I mean, Labor is obviously generally weak, but like of all the state and territory parties at the moment, this kind of just that they're pure, their platform is purely just we're not the Liberals and we're just kind of hang around and hope that you let us be the government. Jesus Christ.
Please let us be the government.
Boring.
I must say, they did have a policy during the election, which I didn't quite realize, which was a sports voucher for $100. A bizarre $100 sports voucher to every family. Clearly, this is Bernard Keane writing, clearly influenced by Anthony Albanese's social media ban to demand that kids get off the screens and onto a football field.
Why is that bizarre? We have them in Queensland.
So what, you get $100 to what? Go just
they
spend
have
on
150.
sports stuff?
I think that the Liberals, no, I think they're the same. They were both 150. And because the Queensland Greens proposed a policy in 2020 and 2024 for free club sport for under 18s, which would make a huge difference in a lot of families' lives, for a lot of young people. There are a lot of reasons for it. Labor kind of partially adopted it by doing these they did the fair play vouchers, which is like these really, they were like maybe a couple of $100. And they literally, you see the website, as soon as they go live and they announce it on socials, all the comments are like, websites crashed, like they go like that because many families want them.
Sure.
And then the LNP has done the thing that they've been doing. This is their classic thing in Queensland at the moment, where they like pretty much continue something but then try to claim it's theirs. So now they've renamed it Play On. Is the name of the program now. But we've got those vouchers. So don't talk shit on sports. I mean, talk shit on the sports vouchers. It should be free, but like club sport is important.
I'm all up for sport and getting kids out there doing sport and stuff. I'm just saying, like, whether it was the major policy change, like, would you agree that it's relatively small fry in terms of
it is pretty
addressing
small fry.
social inequality, which Tasmanians are facing in a pretty severe way?
Absolutely. That's right. Yes. So when do we find out who is going to be the government in Tasmania?
August 19th, baby. That's when Parliament returns. That's when this no confidence motion will be moved by either. I love how Labor can't even say whether they're going to move the motion or it might come from an independent.
Great. Gives me great confidence in them.
Yeah, someone's got to do it. Maybe the Greens. I don't know. I don't talk to them. I don't know what the fuck they're up to.
Yeah, they could be planning. I don't know.
Craig Garland, who's one of the independents, has already said that he won't provide supply and confidence to the Liberal government and is happy to move a motion or will vote, that he has no confidence in this particular government. So you've got at least one independent there putting it out there. Peter George is probably in the same category. I mean, again, it is a broadly progressive crossbench. So it would make sense for all of them to work together with the Labor Party and the Greens to figure out a more progressive government than the fucking Liberal minority.
If you're a Tasmanian Labor member or volunteer who has put in, like, especially if you're one of those poor Labor members who think that you're trying to like achieve progressive aims, and like then the MPs are fucking it up for you this badly, you'd have to be pissed off, right? This is the time of the episode of every single Serious Danger episode where we're like, how can you still stand to be a Labor member or volunteer? Look at yourselves, look at your party, look at what they're doing. It is laughable. It is so stubborn. It is childish. And it's like, you're meant to be running a state and you could be helping people right now and making decisions that'll actually you could be changing the state. And you're like, wait, we don't want to talk to the Greens.
And in Tassie more than anywhere else, again, the Hare Clark system is going to return these kind of results for a long period of time. This is the new political terrain, yo.
Yep.
So figure out a better strategy.
Figure it out.
Accept
We're putting them in a room.
You lot.
And
Don't go out till you form the government.
Exactly. Call to action. There will likely also be rallies happening this weekend and next for Palestine. But if you can make it to any, please put in your calendars Sunday, the 24th of August, where there will be rallies across the country, the National March for Palestine. It's a moment to, be on the right side of history. We'll put the link in the show notes for the APAN list of upcoming
solidarity events and rallies for Palestine, have a look there and see what's happening near you.
God, I'm just looking, news.com.au already running scare pieces about Brisbane shutting down city braces for potential road shutdown for pro-Palestine rally.
Yes.
Yeah. Can support our show by becoming a patron, as we mentioned, seriousdangerpod.com or on Patreon, Serious Danger AU. Follow us on social media, give us a review, give us a 5-star review on our podcasting app, as I bullied my boyfriend into doing just yesterday.
Oh, good. I'll have to go read it.
He sometimes listens to the show. But
okay.
I was like,
my boyfriend never listens.
Who cares about that? Give us a 5-star review. We'd appreciate that very much. And send us an email anytime, hello@seriousdangerpod.com. Emerald, your bangs look fantastic.
Oh, don't call them bangs. The fringe.
The fringe bangs, the mini bangs.
This is Australia, and we remember apartheid.
Serious danger to Australia.